Does the latest OTA patch finally make Black Cat a perfect card? Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we got a brand new OTA patch. It is out, it is live, it is currently running, and we've got some buffs, we've got some nerfs, and the first card that I want to talk about in this situation is going to be the Black Cat. Black Cat is part of the discard changes that have happened to make this card a few points lower than it used to be. And while a lot of people consider Black Cat a nerf because it went from being a 4/10 all the way down to a 2/6, I honestly see this as kind of a buff. Because this makes Black Cat finally break the shackles of only being played in a holodeck. As long as you don't get this card in your opening hand, you can play this card and get down to 2/6. 2/6 is a ridiculous power spike. That's the same power spike as a wizard with absolutely no downside except the fact that this card can't be in your opening hand. That allows this card to just see more play and more chance to maybe get some other little tweak to it in the future. But as long as this card was a 4/10, it was linked to Hela. The only thing that you ever did was discard it and bring it back to Hela. I don't even think other discard decks ever really ran it that much. So I honestly think this is kind of a neat little buff to Black Cat, because I think more people might just throw this in as a good 2-drop. Because for stats, you're not doing too much better than that. Next card that we got that hit the nerf list was the Hela. Hela got changed from a 6/9 all the way down to a 6/6, losing 3 points of power. This was all because of the fact that Scar had a change that brought him off from a 6-drop to a 7-drop, and with the change that Scar got, it meant that Hela was too reliant on getting that Scar every single time, because it was the only 7-drop that existed in the game. It's still the only 7-drop that really exists in the game, other than Airsham. And you're never running an Airsham in the holodeck. So, the problem I see with this as a Hela is a lot of Helas are basically running just a Scar and a Gore the God Butcher. Because if you don't discard the Hela, you can get the Gore, because the Gore is a unique cost. And the Scar's a unique cost. And just by those two alone, if you're trying to put anything relatively decent, that's mostly 20 points of power. So this is still going to be like 26 points of power that just come out on turn 6 without you really needing to do too much prep, especially down the road when we're going to get this month the first Ghost Rider, which basically says play Gore in me. So I don't think this is a real hit to Hela. I'm surprised that some of the other cards got hit on this. The other cards that we saw that got hit on this is Swordmaster. Swordmaster lost a point of power. The problem with Swordmaster now losing that one single point of power, even though it helps to bring down the ceiling of Hela, is it only puts it 1 point above the Lady Sith. And now it's kind of fighting for that same situation. And there's almost a part of me that would like to see Swordmaster brought down to 2 because of that. Yes, I understand that would fight with the new Black Cat, but it's kind of interesting. Especially because that way a Swordmaster can never discard a Swordmaster. Next card that we got that got hit by this weird Hela nerf discard nerf thing was How. How got brought from a 4-7 down to a 4-6, bringing it more in the line with the 4s that should exist. This card is still decently good, but it's really lost a lot of its vim and vigor ever since it stopped discarding 2 cards out of your hand and only went to 1 card. I mean, it's a nice setup on 4, because then you don't have to worry about losing something. You can always play the Hell on 6 and then get 2 cards out of your hand, but because of how a lot of Hells are now doing Gore the God Butcher and Scar, they really don't care about the Hellcat because they really don't want to get rid of anything else but those 2 cards. And there's a lot of ways that you can kind of min-max just getting those 2 cards gone. And how basically just bites that. Next card that we got that got a nerf to it was the Sam Wilson Captain America, or as I like to call him, Captain Falcon. And it's not even to the Captain Falcon itself, it's to the Shield. This is 100% has to do with the fact that Call Obsidian exists. Call Obsidian was never meant to work with the Shield. You're not supposed to play the Shield to get Call Obsidian out for free. This also had a knock-on effect of taking down Marvel Boy and Kazar to a certain degree. Kazar might be the weakest argument for this because I doubt few people were playing this with Kazar, but having an indestructible 1-drop with Marvel Boy was kind of good too. But this is all just because Call Obsidian needed to go away from this. If this nerf didn't happen, you would never play Call Obsidian unless you had Captain Falcon. You never play Captain Falcon unless you had Call Obsidian. Now, is there a little bit of sorrow about the fact that Second Dinner waited till after the Sanctum Showdown and the Season Pass was done to make this nerf? Sure. Did they go out of their way to make sure that happened? Probably. And a lot of people did buy the Sam Wilson, the Captain Falcon, for the Sanctum Showdown and for the season. And a lot of people did try to get the Call Obsidian Captain America combo to work in the Sanctum Showdown, and that did make them money. But this is just a change that needed to happen. To call this a nerf almost is a shame to the nerf because it's not changing anything that this card did, other than making it so that Call Obsidian isn't a free play anymore. Next thing that we had that happen on the nerf list was that the Doom 2099 had a change. Okay, I'll bring Doom 2099 here for just a second. And it's not even the Doom itself that had to change, it's the Doom bots. Doom bots had 1 point shaved off of them. This kind of upsets me because one of the things I liked about Doom 2099, and maybe this is just me, myself, and I, was simply the fact that this card was so free-to-play friendly. Especially now with Zabu coming down and becoming Series 3. The only card that you really needed with Doom 2099 was the original Doom, and you got that for free. The other card that would help this out would be the Zabu. So you own those 3 cards. You pretty much the rest of the deck didn't matter per se, as long as you only played 1 card per turn once you had the Doombot Stone. And it really hurts to have a deck that was basically free to play for everybody as long as you own 1 card, which, yes, technically doesn't make it free to play. But it's was the lowest investment, and it was one of the simplest play patterns to go through. You got the Doom bot down, and then you just got the bots every turn by playing on curve. It was simple, didn't care about locations, and maybe that's the reason it needed to have a nerf to it, because it was just way too simple to just finger roll the keyboard and win. So those are the nerfs that happened. Now let's talk about the buffs. First buff that we're going to talk about is Loki. Loki got changed from a 2-2 to a 1-2. My, how the mighty have fallen. This is basically to make it so that in certain situations you'll get the extra draw off of Loki without Loki just getting the extra draw that it needs. But it's just an ugly card at this point. This went from a card that needed to be in your collection. This went from a card that basically had a deck that was called the Loki deck to a card that basically isn't even a tech card anymore. It's almost to the point where it's like Airsham or bust. And if you're not playing as an Airsham, I'm not sure if you're throwing this in any other deck, honestly. The RNG factor of too many other decks is not worth playing the Loki in it. I'm not sure how they fix this card, because at this point, this has got to be like change number 72 to Loki. Next card that we had is Thanos. Thanos had two different changes to it. The Thanos itself got a change. It went from a 6'10 to a 6'12. And the the Space Stone, wide, got changed from a 1-1 to a 1-2. Now, what's really interesting is not so much about how good Thanos got in this. Yes, Thanos did need a little bit of a buff. He's kind of was slipping, especially with stuff like Agamotto now coming out. That's basically a 5/13 if you play it right. This will make, Thanos a 5/12, and then if you have any other stand up, a 5/13. And even if all you have is a Space Stone, you're looking at a 5/14. But what's really interesting about this is the fact that this is the first time they've ever made a stone have two different numbers on it, except in the beginning they used to have the yellow stone be a 2-1, but this is the first time that they've been willing to adjust the power that you get off of the stone other than the power stone. This gives them a lot more levers that they can play around with. If Thanos starts getting too powerful, they could change the Mind Stone to a 1-0. They could change the Reality Stone to a 1-5. Some of this is really interesting that they're finally willing to add a lever to this. So this makes Thanos basically one of the most adjustable cards, because each stone you can kind of tweak. Now, there has been some discussion that they're still going to take one more look at the stones and try to see if they can make the stones do something else. Because part of the problem that stones do kind of create is if anybody else gets a stone somehow, it's pretty much a dead card to them. Which is kind of nice for Thanos to have a way of saying, hey, you got this card, too bad, so sad. But it's kind of also limits what you can do with the stones in the future. Next card that got a buff on it was Wolverine. Wolverine got changed from a 2-2 to a 2-3. Nice to see a starter card get a little bit of love. Only issue that I kind of have with this getting a buff is how much it makes Sabretooth just painfully annoying, painfully useless. Sabretooth, you gotta destroy it and then it becomes 0, and then you gotta destroy it every single turn. Wolverine, you just put it on the board, destroy it even once, and you're at a 2-5. So it kind of puts a big spotlight on what they need to do in the future, maybe to make Sabretooth just a little bit better. And honestly, I'll tell you one of the things that can make Sabretooth a little bit better. Just make it so that once you become Zero, nothing else makes him change power again. So even if something happens like Dream Dimension, he's still a Zero. It's a small change, but I think it'd be a good change. And the last card that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Bruce. That's right, the Bruce got changed. The Bruce Banner now has a 33% chance to Hulk out instead of a 25% chance to Hulk out. I kind of like this and I kind of hate this because one of the problems is nobody kind of realizes the randomness of a percentage change like this. There's going to be comments that come from this Bruce Banner change where they basically say, I don't see him transform any more than I used to. And that's because you think that the 33% is cumulative, that it'll be 33, then 66, then 99, and if in 3 turns it didn't change, something went wrong with the game. It's not going to happen that way. You could roll a million times and never have Bruce change. It's just how that 33% works. Now, there is another secret change to Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner will keep any power buff that happened to him when he changes into the Hulk. So if you somehow, at the first part of the game, change this to a 3-drop, it's going to get that +2 power. If you buff it all or while it's on the board, it's going to get that power. Now, I really do like this change, and I honestly want a few other cards to see this change. One of which might be the Bucky Barnes. I would like to see the Bucky Barnes get this change. I know it dies, but I would like to see that change. But the other card that, if you're going to go this route, I'd like to see the change happen to would be Morph. This would be a great text line to add to the Morph that would basically do absolutely nothing to the Morph, but just give that one little sprinkle at the very end, or if somehow it gets buffed in your hand, you're not losing out on the fact that it's a Morph at that point. So those are the buffs and nerfs. We do have one more thing for this patch, though. So there has been a slight location change. Deep Space is temporarily removed from the game. There's some sort of bug with Patriot where Patriot was still able to get the power reduction after being played on Deep Space. Deep Space wasn't disabling that text for some reason. Until Second Dinner can figure out why that is, they've just removed Deep Space. They'll bring it back at some point else. Unless something really weird happens, Deep Space will stay exactly the same. But just in case you care, you're not going to see Deep Space for a while. So those are all the buffs, nerfs, and changes that have happened in the latest OTA patch. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.